since we've got several here. To my left is Scott Billman, Bill Hanley, Tim Donovan, Debbie Lombardo, and we're just waiting for one more, Brian Gold and Deneen Jackson, who is excused today. So as we do with every board meeting, I'm gonna turn this over to Connor. Connor's gonna go over the housekeeping issues, how we run the meeting and take roll call, and then we'll flip it back over and get the meeting started. So Connor, you ready?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. This is Connor Banahy with GHD. I'd like to wish a warm welcome to everyone joining us for today's meeting, and a special welcome to our new board members joining us for the first time today. As a reminder, this meeting will be recorded, and to start things off, I'd like to introduce a couple of housekeeping measures. To reduce the amount of background noise, we kindly ask you to stay muted until you're ready to speak, and at the time you're ready to speak, please state your name and affiliation for the record. At this time, I'll begin taking the roll call, starting with the board members, and after I say your name, please say here or present. I'd like to start with Bill Sunderland,
Here.
Deneen Jackson, Debbie Lombardo,
Here.
Scott Billman,
Here.
Bill Hanley,
Present.
Tim Donovan.
Present.
Thank you, board. I'll now move on to our regular attendees, starting with Pierre Merlot,
Present.
Jack McMahon,
Here.
Fawad Arab,
Present.
Charlie Martirana,
Present.
Damon Sykes,
Here.
David Hill, Doug Foltz,
Present.
Kelly Lee,
Present.
Bill Ferguson,
Present.
Lisa Fody,
Present.
Stephen Waldvogel,
Present.
Dustin Steiner,
Present.
Matthew Adam,
Present.
Damon Rand,
Present.
Christine Wingo,
Present.
Pat Thornton.
Present.
And is there anyone else at the plant who I haven't called yet? If you could reveal yourself for the record.
Zachary Cox with Veolia.
Thank you.
Nate
Delano
Martin, Commissioner DPW.
Thank you.
Ed Steve
Michael
Rock,
Wooley,
Veolia.
Superintendent with Water.
Jennifer Shestakowski, Veolia.
Thank you.
Ed Steve
Delano
Rock,
Dow.
Veolia.
So is
Portia
that
Ari
everybody?
Parson,
Thank you,
Portia Ari
Portia.
Parson and GHD.
Carol Byrne.
David Connors.
So
Oh,
we got Dave Connors on the call here,
yes.
and then we'll move on to we have a 716-851 number, 4987.
Delano Dow, Comptroller's Office.
Thank you. And it looks like, did we get everybody in the room currently?
Yep.
Thank you. And on the call, is there anybody who hasn't stated their name for the record? That if you could please speak up, we'd appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you got me. Ed Steve Rock with Veolia.
Thank you, Ed. It looks like we have Eric Machin also on the call.
Yes, Eric Machin, sir. Present.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, cool. Thank you, everybody. I think that's everybody for the record. So at this time, I'll pass it back to Mr. Sunderland for the
All right,
rest
thank
of
you,
the meeting.
Connor. So William Sunderland, Vice Chair of Buffalo Water Board. As we run all of our board meetings are open to the public, and we operate our meetings by Robert's Rule of Order. So as we have agenda items come up, we ask for a motion, we ask for a second, there's discussion, and then each member will vote. You vote with your name, because we are doing this hybrid, you vote with your name also. So I would say Sunderland, aye. So it gets, so the secretary can record that. As we have on item number 3, the public comment period, anybody who's attending remotely, if there is something that you would like to say or speak during that period of time, we ask that you come off mute or you raise your hand in the chat, and we will acknowledge you, and you will have a few minutes to state what you would like to state. So board, in front of us, we have a agenda. If you could review the agenda and look for additions, subtractions, anything on there. I'm sorry, Mr. Merlo.
I would like to make a substitution or a switch in the agenda.
Number.
Item 7, various locations, it says group 1A, it should be 1B. I apologize for the typo. Thank you.
Or if you would review the agenda. There's no additions or other changes in there, then we have a motion to approve the agenda as to form.
Make a vote. Hanley, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as shown.
Billman, second.
Then we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
You need to say your name and then I.
Debbie, aye.
We usually go the person who made the motion goes first, second, and then through there.
Hanley, aye.
Billman, aye.
Debbie, aye.
Donovan, aye. Sunderland, aye. All right, so motion is carried and the agenda is approved. Item number 2, we have the approval of the meeting minutes. These were distributed to everybody ahead of time from the last meeting in December. If everybody would review these, they're also up on the screen. If there's any changes to this, please review these. Connor, if you can scroll through these. We'll give a couple of minutes because they're quite lengthy. In the future, like I said, we distribute these ahead of the meeting. They're also posted 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after this meeting. A draft version of this will be posted for the public and the board to read also. So everyone had enough time to review the minutes as posted? And can we have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 12th meeting as posted?
Billman, make a motion to approve the minutes.
For a second?
Hanley, second.
All right, we have a motion and properly seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
Handley,
Hanley, aye.
Billman, I. Donovan, I.
Debbie, I.
Sunderland, aye. Minutes have been approved. We're gonna move to item 3, the public comment period. If there is anybody either on site or remote that would like to speak during this period of time, please come off mute or raise your hand in the chat and we will acknowledge you. Okay, hearing none. We will move to item 4, the staffing update. Mr. Merlot?
Yes, Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer for the City of Buffalo Division of Water. I missed the last coordination meeting in terms of the latest of personnel. Doug, have you kind of got the latest of where we are? Wise, thank you.
Thank you. Doug Fultz, Veolia. Morning, Board. Welcome. If I could bring your attention to page 15 of the monthly board report, we have our staffing summary. For the month of March 25, we are currently at 68% staff of our budget positions. That's actually 73% of our staffing, our target staffing level. To give you some context of where we've come from, July of 2024, we were actually at 57%. In December of 24, we were at 64%. So this really is a good illustration of the effort that the Commissioner of DPW and his staff have done to get our staffing going in the right direction. So major positions that we're putting focus on staff at this point are pumping plant operations, filter plant operations, and chemists. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
Board? Questions on the staffing?
Oh,
Right on. Thank you, Doug. All right, we're going to move on to item 5, the budget amendment fund transfer. Mr. Merlo?
Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer, Division of Water. I'm gonna turn this item over to Steve Walvogel for GHD. We've been quarterbacking this and kind of getting to the final and kind of review that with the board and hopefully get it approved.
Thank you. Stephen Waldvogel, GHD. Welcome, board. The contract with Veolia envisions that Veolia will utilize third-party contractors for various specialty preventive maintenance, high-priority water main breaks, as well as lead service line replacements. In the last several months, Veolia has continued to expend money with these third-party contractors to maintain continuity of service by repairing breaks and leaks, replacing old lead lines that are found to be broken, and also continuing with certain maintenance here at the plant that our current staff are not certified to do. In addition, there has been a number of invoices that Veolia has paid that were authorized in previous years that have now come due. And we are asking the board for a transfer from your reserves into the structural improvement excess limit account budget line in the city's budget so that the water board can reimburse Veolia for these expenses that have already happened, some of them. And the transfer is inclusive of the remaining 3 months in this year. So we anticipate this will be a single transfer to get you through the end of the fiscal year. There's one other important note about this transfer. Veolia has expended, we think, during this year, an amount much larger than the transfer, on order of magnitude about $11 million, that is related to improving the capital assets that the board owns. And as such, we anticipate that this summer, when the board goes to the bond market to fund your capital plan, we will fund those improvements with bonds and reimburse or replenish your reserve account. Presently, you have approximately $17 million in reserves. And the requested transfer is about half of that, $8.5 million, which we believe will take you to the end of this fiscal year, make all of your vendors whole, and then very shortly thereafter be replenished when you sell bonds. In subsequent meetings, Peter and I will present a capital plan for your consideration. We don't have that for you today, but that capital plan would be approved possibly at next meeting, and that would start the process of going to the market to sell bonds. This is a pretty typical process. The transfer is not typical, I would say, but the capital planning and the reimbursement of reserves as necessary is pretty standard. We are a little behind since there hasn't been a board seated for 4 months. So we bring or we recommend a transfer from your reserve to this excess limit account. I hope that makes sense. I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
Board, are there any questions regarding this transfer?
How about the timing of the replenishment as far as post bond sale? How quickly will that replenish?
I think the primary driver is when you actually sell bonds, and that's up to you as a board. Typically, you will authorize, and then the city will act as your financial agent, I guess, and they retain bond counsel and a financial advisor, and you work with the controller's office to sell bonds. I think you get the money the next day.
As soon as the proceeds are available.
Yeah.
And again, Pete Merlo, Secretary to the Board, at this point, that capital plan is almost ready to go. We kind of talked about that initially in there. So we plan on having that for you in either the subsequent meeting or the meeting thereafter. And then I think Scott will trigger the process. So we're talking a pretty condensed timetable here, hopefully, because these projects are ready to go. That real quick include the roofs, include Mass Ave, and include the hyperchloride project, plus these expenditures as well. So we're looking forward to those coming, but that'll be at a subsequent meeting, but that we believe is very forthcoming.
Great, thank you. When have you traditionally sold bonds?
Spring.
In the spring. So
Yes, it's just a little lag right now, but this is typical, right, Lisa?
Board, are there any more questions regarding this transfer?
Stephen, this transfer is just a transfer request, not anything to do with going up to the bond market, correct?
No, just a transfer.
Not yet.
It's a transfer.
It's an internal.
Bill Ferguson, City Accountant. I'll just mention one thing. The reimbursement of the reserves is not, the funds are available immediately, but there is a process. The invoicing and all the supporting documentation needs to be submitted to the bond trustees first before we can replenish the money. So but that may be something that Pete's group can do in anticipation, is start identifying all these costs and gathering the invoicing and everything else together. So once the bonds do eventually close, we can expedite the reimbursement through the trustee.
And Bill, Pete Merlo, Secretary to the Board, we worked together the last time and kind of worked out some of the bumps in the road when we reimbursed a previous capital expenditure with bond funds. We used this to fund one of our projects. In fact, if you remember, we relined the Maine to Michigan. We used reserves to fund that, and then as the bond sold, we reimbursed that one. So I'll again work with you, Lisa, and really Greg Samansky on his investment and debt side of it to make sure we get the paperwork in order.
Mm-hmm.
Board, any other questions regarding this transfer? Okay, so can we have a motion to transfer from the reserve account, $8,500,000 to the structural limit account?
Bill Hanley, I'll make a motion to approve the transfer of funds.
Bill did second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Hanley, aye.
Bill Nye.
Debbie, I.
Donovan, aye.
Sunderland, aye. All right, thank you, everybody. All right, we're going to move to item number 6, 120 water. Peter?
Oh, yes, thank you. Pete Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. 120 Water is a company that we engaged through Veolia Water and the board approved, and really to manage our lead service response program and really help us comply with the regulation that's currently in effect. And really, I'm gonna turn this over to Dave. I know, Dave, you've been quarterbacking this. This is through you, but this has been a joint venture in terms of everyone else getting here, but we've used you as a mechanism for contracting.
Right, well, David Hill, project leader for Veolia.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Peter. This program, which really was spurned by the board and their forward thinking, on how they wanted to protect the public from lead poisoning in Buffalo. I mean, as we know, Buffalo it is stricken with some of the highest lead levels in the nation. And the last administration, coupled with the current administration, it seems want to take all steps towards protecting public health and garnering public trust in terms of running probably the best lead program in the country in terms of protecting residents. We've teamed with 120 Water Veolia has, and what we offer is really a program that protects customers above and beyond what federal law currently requires. In 3 years, everything, the board, in less than 3 years now, actually, everything in this program that we're currently doing today is going to become law. Right now, we're out in front of it a little bit. But again, that was by design because we wanted to be not only out in front of it, but leading and compliant with the program and doing everything we can to protect public health. So this is our partnership. We struck it 3 years ago. It's up for renewal now.
And David, again, Pete Marlowe, Secretary of the Board, Principal Engineer. This program really makes sure we communicate properly to the public to make sure we're very transparent. But I want to assure you, I believe that what we produce is a very high quality effluent. The water at the tap is excellent. We have an aggressive testing program if everyone really doubts that. So I really believe in what we produce here, but this makes sure it's more than just talk. This is the other side of it, how we're communicating, how are we following up with testing? If you have the services, how are we dealing with you as a customer? If you have an issue, how are we running the test sites? We're doing how many 100 sites? And I didn't mean to steal your show here, David, but I wanted to add that piece there. How many sites a year are we testing for now?
Compliance wise, as a utility, Buffalo Water's required to collect 100 per month, or not, excuse me, 100 every 6 months. That's at a minimum. We're probably citywide 500 per year, minimal 200 per year.
And our numbers are excellent, right? Our numbers are excellent.
Yes, the 90th percentile numbers are at the 3 level, 3.4 level. Regulatory wise, the law requires you to be under 10. You got to introduce corrosion control, which we already have corrosion control, Buffalo Water, and has had. It's a very good system and has been forever. You can look at the numbers and this city does not have a problem with lead copper compliance.
I'm going to take a moment. Board members, you know what he means when he says corrosion control. We add an orthophosphate, basically, it's a phosphate ion that really forms and bonds with any metallic surfaces and forms a scale on the inside of pipes, really protecting that any lead surfaces from dissolving or becoming into the water column. The combination with our excellent water quality plus this additional belt and suspenders in this orthophosphate, it's a phosphate ion. It's common. It's nothing that it's everywhere, but in the right dosage, it really performs well to protect our services. Again, just so people kind of can understand why we're doing this.
And Peter, it also coats all of the lines all the way through your house to your faucets.
And that's really what the most important is. There is no lead in the distribution system. If there is, it's either in the services or the solder in the joints for over copper piping. So it's all in the house, but this provides that protection. And you're right, Bill, it's everything, any metal surface really detects the lead or attracts to the lead.
In terms of testing, it's you can sign up to have your water tested. Is that correct? So anybody from the public, I get my water tested and we get reports afterwards. So in terms of the follow-up, it's right on track in terms of awareness for me, but also from a regulatory compliance standpoint. So.
You know what, Peter, that is such an amazing thing. And I think that.
Lisa, can you
communication-
speak up a little
I
bit?
was just saying, that's such an amazing thing. I learned something right now. And I need to communicate that out to the general public, because we always communicate, or I should say, the negative is always portrayed. But that's really comforting to know that there's that level
I don't
of,
say that enough.
right, you don't say it enough. It's really comforting to know
I
that
believe
that's
it's going
throughout
through.
the system, right through to the house.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. So this contract, for $761,721.28. We're looking to have that approved starting April 14th, which we're a little bit behind,
Yes,
but they're still on.
We're still working.
We're still.
yes.
All right, board, is there a motion to approve 120 water for the amount of $761,721.28?
Debbie, I'll make a motion.
You got a first?
Bill in a second.
All right, we have a first and second. Any
Bill,
discussion?
if I may just add that it would be effective as of the April 14th date. Okay.
Correct. Yes. All right, we have a first and second. Is there any discussion? 1 second.
Doug Foltz, Veolia. I just want to make sure this is a 3-year contract, so this would be, that would be for the first year. I just want to make sure.
Correct. This is an annual amount.
These costs are budgeted in the O and M budget that's already approved and will be subsequently approved. So this is more of an authorization. The actual expenditure is budgeted properly, so you will see that at time of budget approval.
And
It's already built in.
And for the board, every year, generally our fiscal year is July 1. You will see other contracts that we have that we approve on an annual basis, very similar to this, and they'll be presented to the board for review and approval. So we have a first and second, all in favor? I'm sorry.
I just to add a little bit more, Doug Foltz, Veolia, just to add more context for the board. 3 years ago, when this was put into effect, we actually did go out for RFP for this. We solicited 3 firms. 120 Water was the only responsive contractor. And in Veolia's recommendation to the board at that time, it was that we would anticipate partnering with them for the long term, not to change courses 3 years into it, because at this point, there's so many moving parts to this program. It's very important we maintain the momentum. So this was a competitive process, just for information purposes. That's correct. Yes.
Bill Hanley, on a question, the pricing that was quoted, is that more than what was the previous 3 years? Is it just inflation cost? Is it labor cost? Is there what's the increase?
Yeah, it is a bit more. There's some pricing associated with consumables, so lead and copper testing, sample kit distribution. Obviously, labor costs are part of that component. So I believe it is more. I don't know, the order of magnitude is very comparable, but it is a bit more. Shop.
If we asked them, we work with distribution and sometimes we were supplying water pitchers as needed, as well as a capital program. For consistency, we want the capital program to handle it all, because not only is there a level of distribution, but that needs to be recorded and documented. As much as we want to provide the service, we have to make sure the service is documented in case anyone asks questions. Hey, this is what we did. This is how we did it. Here's documentation that goes along with this. So it's a degree of defendability. So we asked them in this round to pick up a little bit more, some of those, as you said, disposables, Doug. So test kits, testing that occurs as follow-up.
Somebody mentioned that the money was already budgeted for. Is this increase already budgeted for?
Yes,
It's already in the city's budget?
next year starting, it started as of July 1st, 2025, that fiscal year beginning. So it's in there. These costs won't hit till then. Correct? Right?
It's a month. I believe it's a month. It's a monthly invoice, I believe, but correct. Yes, sorry.
But we're approving the contract as of April 14th.
Right, but a lot of those capital expenditures may occur later. The current ones are all budgeted in that projection that you approved earlier.
Thank you, everybody. All right, so we have a first and second to make this, approve this amount. All in favor?
Debbie, I.
Hanley, I.
Donovan, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Thank you, everybody. All right, we're going to move to item number 7, various locations, Group 1B, time extension. Mr. Merlo?
Yes, Peter Merlo, Principal Engineer, Secretary to the Board. In your packet, You will see a time extension letter request for Group B with Candy Construction. They're one of our distribution line contractors. We're finishing up 4 distribution improvement projects totaling about 25 million watt. This contract is going to continue for additional work on Kearns Avenue, plus some additional work at Brant Hammers for, is that a 36 or a 48 inch? 48 inch large valve rehabilitation. This work has just continued into this construction season. And we're just asking on this, for this particular contract, that we increase the construction date to December 12th, 2025. Any questions in terms of what the project is? I don't know.
This is
We have a
just-
lot here.
Strictly a time extension.
This is a time extension. The letter behind this is going to be the additional construction management required, but that was budgeted and I'll get into that. But for item purposes, this contract with Candy is a zero cost time extension. There's enough funds in that contract to do the work. We just need an extension of time because that's the date in the contract. And we want this work done. It's on Kearns Avenue. This is lead service replacement along with the main. There was some changes on Kearns because that's where the Skajackwada drain runs. And there was changes during the design of the project. We went from 1 main to 2 mains because we cannot go over the Skajackwada drain or under it. It was just difficult. So there was some design changes that caused this project to kind of slip in this construction season. But again, this work needs to happen.
Debbie, did you have a question?
No, he answered it. Thank you.
All right, is there a motion to approve a time extension for Donato for various?
Candy Company. It's Dean Donato recommends it as the consultant engineer of record. Sorry.
Corrected. A motion for Candy Company to do a time extension for groups 1B to December 12th, 2025.
I'm going to make the motion to approve the extension.
Is there a second?
Debbie, I second.
All right, we have a first and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Billman, aye.
Debbie, I.
Henley, I.
Sunderland, aye. All right, thank you, everybody. Item number 8, various groups, various location group 1A and B, additional engineering, construction phase services. Mr. Merlo.
Thank you. Peter Merlo, Secretary of the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. What you see in front of you is a request for Donato Associates. Donato is the engineering consultant of record on this project. They did the design documents. They're managing the construction in the field. They have a full-time inspector that's out there overseeing this work as it's progressing. This work was originally, we were going to come to the previous board for this, but the funds for this come from 2 other projects that we closed. I said we had 4 projects totaling 25 million. 2 of them we can finish, close, made the final payment. We received about $300,000 back, and that was always the intent, was to fund this work, but I couldn't fund this work until that other project was closed and these funds are available. So the funding for this project is bond funds. It's not O&M. It's specifically, it's the last of our bond funds for this work. So, and what this work is there was a little bit of design for Kearns and for Parker, because they're also managing another contract for Nova Construction, which is actually doing Parker, and that was added this year because there was extra funds available. So there's some additional design work totaling about $40,000. And then the bulk of it is for additional construction phase services. And what this is really for that individual, those 365 and 1365, these are hours of people just helping manage the construction and getting this job to completion.
Peter, can you, for the board, would you
Yeah.
explain what CA and CI is?
Yeah. CA is Construction Administration Services, and CI is Resident Inspection. So every contract that we go out there, and we have a contractor bid, we hire the consultant that designed it, put it out to bid, stamped it. They are actually the ones that communicate with the health department. They're now managing the construction. They're watching the contractor. They're authorizing payment. They're making sure that contractor's putting that underground asset in according to specs. It's done right, the proper bedding. The connections are correct. They're using the right materials. We want these assets to last more than a useful life. So how they are constructed is very important. Everything looks great on paper. Is a contractor building exactly what it says on paper? And I hold our consultants accountable. If there's any issues, it's their responsible, the engineer of record. Their job is to notify us, recommend payment to us. Then we can process that payment that it was done according to the plans and specifications. So this CA is for office personnel to review what's called submittals, review design changes. Say, for example, there's a sewer in the field or there's something that you encounter and now there has to be something that's done or relocated or communication with utilities that happen that is unanticipated. Well, you have office time to help work out these issues. We, construction manager here, we don't have the horses to hold this. We're managing $50 million in construction right now. We have another 80 million ready to go. That's done with having the proper team in construction to manage it as well. So this team, so when you see the cost for construction, it's the construction costs plus what's called administrative, the CARI, the cost for that engineer to oversee that construction. It's anywhere from 15 to 25% of the project, depending on the complexity of it, depending on the length of it. But inspection is very simple. Your CI fee, that is man hours. When they're in the field, they're billing you. When they're not getting billed. So this time here is only as billed. If all of a sudden the contractor does it in half the time, they're only going to use half the budget. Now, I rarely see that. Usually contractors have a tendency to make things take a little longer, but that's not always the case. So hopefully I'm kind of contextualizing what this piece of it is. This is really a part of construction costs. And the reason for this change is because we're going into the next construction season. And the reason for the delay of this is the funds were anticipated. However, we had to do some procedure. We had to close a contract, use those funds that are available to fund this one. So any questions? Please.
And how were they retained originally?
They were retained through our RFP process. We are redoing this. We have a list. We followed the federal program. So we did an RFP that basically procured consultants in a variety of asset categories. And then we work with audit to define when we have work in that asset category. And they are your above ground assets. It's really the current work pumping plant, work here on your treatment equipment, on your work in your buildings, on everything here. There's a list of consultants that we pre-selected for here. There's a list of consultants we pre-selected for distribution work, your mains, your underground assets. There's a list for water work services. That's where we pull GHD from. These are things for advice above and above hard construction. Rate consultants, how are you working with payment plans? How are you working with customers to really look at the most disadvantaged and how to help them? Programs that kind of fall through the cracks, GHD and that list helps us, the board, have an availability for that type of consultant as well. And then we have one buildings and grounds, just specifically for consultants that are experts in structures, roofs, repointing, some of the work, you may see some bracing here and there. We have a professional consultant, retained engineer that we can call up when we have an issue. When I have something falling, we want to make sure it's properly addressed by an expert that knows what they're talking about, not that someone's just guessing. So we have that list. We're redoing that in the next 2 months, and you'll see that coming. But what we do is I work with the controller. I pull off that list, and then myself, Fuad, and Jack McMahon, who's on the call, basically write a letter to say why we're picking them up off the list. And it's a variety of reasons. They could have a specialty in a unique something in treatment. They can have something like GHG is working with us on our hypochlorite project because the hypochlorite project is so impactful with operations. It's not just building storage tanks. You got to basically implement that with your treatment system. So GHG rose to that level, that procurement, because of that level of communication. There's a lot of companies that could do that sort of engineering, but not a lot of people that know how to properly implement it. So what my point to you is, Scott, there's a lot of rhyme and reason that goes into it. So it's an RFP process that we get to pre-select. We follow the federal program, and we're going to be redoing that. They're typically 3 years lists that run.
Great. Thanks.
Sure.
Board, are there any other questions regarding this increase? All right, is there a motion to approve the increase to DiDonato for additional design, CA, and CI services in the amount of $274,629?
Hanley, I'll make the first to approve the
Increase.
increase in spending to now.
For a second? Second. So we have a first and second for this increase. Discussion? All in favor?
Hanley, aye.
Billman, aye.
Debbie, I.
Donovan, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Thank you. All right, we're gonna move to item number 9, the Clearwell and Fluoride Project, additional engineering and construction phase services. Mr. Merlo?
Yes, thank you. Pete Merlo, Secretary of the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. You'll see an increase here for $148,000 for Hazen Sawyer. Hazen Sawyer is a consultant of record that is helping us look at our clear well. If you remember on the tour, I talked about we have a 30 million gallon clear well that stores all the potable water that we treat below our filters. We're looking to optimize our filter, look at creating better flow paths in that. You can see visually how big that footprint is. So this project is looking, that is also looking at chemical induction and ways to do that better in both our conduits. If you remember, we talked about, we have a 90-inch and a filter water conduit coming out. Next time I can get a display, but we have 2 effluent sources coming out of our clear well. So they're looking at chemical dispersion, including our corrosion control inhibitor and fluoride. Part of this project is we pulled them out and asked them about, was it a year and a half ago, once the water board got health department approval to really implement fluoride, they were here with us working through that process to help us get it implemented. And we finally, Doug, when do we actually turn it on officially?
September?
See, I'm having a blank.
Back from vacation.
All right.
Dave,
Yes, it was recently, yes.
September 24th.
So Hazen has been great. They helped us design it on the fly. So here's a whole list of additional services that they performed during the time the board was not in session to help us implement. We don't want to stop that process. We had a commitment to the public, and these are just improvements that we needed. So again, whether it's ventilation, whether it's additional leak sensors, we changed out the metering pumps. So there's a whole litany here. And again, this money was budgeted, it was accounted for, we knew it was coming. I just didn't have a chance to apply it because I had no board to do it. So it's something that it's a bond fund, it's applicable because it is an asset that we're building. We built fluoride. The system is working. We're still working on some tweaks in terms of finalizing our flow meter, finalizing some of our ventilation, finalizing the second piece of chemical induction, which is part of that bigger project. That bigger project will help us finalize and perfect exactly where we're injecting our chemicals. Right now, we're halfway there and we're only injecting at one site. Oh, no, we're injecting at both sites, but we don't have flow control or flow monitoring at both sites. So we're there. We're not all the way there. This is how we got to here. And then I will keep you in the loop going forward as this project continues.
So Peter, are you anticipating any other change orders to this?
Not for
project?
fluoride. The only one that we may have is at some point, right now, they're finalizing the final approach on the clear wall. We're gonna eventually have a design package. This is like a design report to kind of like, this is where we're at. You know, this is what we can do. This is where we can put openings is. So if we continue on construction, we either will go with a new contract, but we'll deal with it at that point. But for right now, Bill, no, this is the last one.
Or did you have any other questions regarding this change order?
So it's a change order to an existing contract, work completed.
Yes.
And it's gonna be bond.
And it was design work completed. The construction work was done through our limited account contractors, and that's part of the reason for those additional expenses. We use those so we can deliver fluoride in a timely fashion. If we went through the conventional bid process at the city, we would still be, we still may be trying to get contractors under no, I'm just saying, it just takes a lot longer.
Thank you. Board, any other questions? All right, is there a motion to approve Hazen for the additional work for the fluoride change order number 7 in the amount of $148,000? Promotion.
Bill, I'm going to make the motion to approve.
Hanley, second.
There's a motion and proper second. Discussion. All in favor?
Bill and I.
Hanley, aye.
WI.
Sunderland, aye. Thank you. All right, item number 10, the Colonel Ward Electric time extension. Mr. Merlo.
Again, Pete Merlo, Secretary of the Board, Principal Engineers. I always like to have my last item, a nice, easy peasy one. This is a no-cost time extension for the Colonel Ward Electric project, which has been a project that has been very welcoming to our facility. It's been somewhat disruptive because basically this is fixing all the electrical connections between all our pumps and projects that over the years that haven't been updated. We've done a lot of spot replacements, whether it's the low lift pumps that you saw over there, the high lift pumps here. So we'll get new equipment. This is basically tying everything together. The reason it's so important now is we're going to be bidding the Mass Ave project, which we're going to be asking to fund, and I've been talking about. That's the pump station below the Peace Bridge. Once that project happens, that facility is going to be in reduced capacity. We are not going to be able to pump to the entire city from that facility. We'll be able to use 30 to maybe 40 MGD out of that facility, and this is planned. So we want to make sure that this facility electrically was humming. Backup power was ready to go. This project, Dustin can tell you, we're right there. We're just in some motor testing. So timing wise is excellent. So this facility electrically is in the best shape it ever has been. And it's necessary now because that project's coming at Mass Ave, the one I keep talking about. And now, again, to sum it up, they would like to increase the time to August 29, 2025. I don't know if Dustin, you want to take some of the testing. On this project, we took our time. And some of this is the motor testing that's required on those 3 large high lift pumps that, the ones that replace the big steam ones? Those motors are currently still being tested, correct?
Yes, Dustin, thank you, Peter. Dustin Steiner, GHD, been our PR for the project.
Our PR, you're the resident engineer overseeing that project. He's that RI person that we talked about. So this project is happening. He's overseeing, he's working with the contractor. He's very important because he also coordinates with plant operations when they have shutdowns, when they actually look to start up certain things, and you're going to shut down some parts of the filtration plant. We have to make sure it's well coordinated. So it's a little higher level of coordination here than you will see in the field overseeing a water line job. Sorry, just to.
Dustin, did you have anything else?
No, it's just,
Hey, stole your thunder, I know.
we've got, there's some testing that
You're
needs to be done. Thank you, Peter. And we would love to see the time extension get approved.
This is a really good thing. So, is there a motion to approve the time extension number 4 for GHD to August 29, 2025? Sorry?
Fry Electric, GHD recommending.
Okay, sorry. Fry Electric to August 29, 2025. Is there a motion?
Debbie, I make a motion.
Second,
Bill, second.
we have a first and second discussion. All in favor?
Debbie, I.
Bill, aye.
Hanley, aye.
Donovan, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Thank you. All right, item number 11, the monthly report from the GHD, Mr. Walvogel.
Thank you, Bill. Stephen Waldvogel, GHD. I've had the immense pleasure of working with you all over the last month or so. It's been a little bit unusual in that we've got to meet and talk about things and try to bring you up to speed. So I won't belabor you any longer with a long update, but I will continue to offer assistance as needed. You all have my number. You can call if there's questions and the like. GHD does provide a number of services. We are your retained engineer primarily, but we fill in where needed. I've had my team member Christine Wingo and Dustin here, and Portia is in the back there helping us. And I'll ask Christine to just give a brief update on our community outreach programs, and then Dustin on some of the construction work that's going on.
Good morning, Christine Wingo here. I work with GHD, as Stephen stated, as the technical engagement specialist. We've been working with 2 of our community partners on a 6-month pilot. Those 2 partners are Open Buffalo and Community Health Center of Buffalo, who will soon change their name because they have a couple of other centers that they're now opening up to engage further with the community. In that space, for the 6 months, we're actually up with that pilot project. However, they are still agreeing to work with us and do several things to ensure that we are still engaging the public in identifying and explaining to them the aspects of water and how it works and what avenues are available to them. If you want to pass it down. In that space, they're also which this is something that Portia Parson and Ari Parson helps with us with the public side of communicating in detail some items and programs that are offered through Buffalo Water, which is the roll program, the 311, and I'm forgetting one, the water main replacement program. And those are three key pieces which we will again indulge them in on this current weekend on the 26th on Earth Day with Council Member Zanetta Everhart, which is going to be at Canisius College or Canisius University now, where there will be several people there getting information about how do we get rid of or identify if we have lead pipes in our home or if we can get them replaced. So we'll be communicating further with them. It's been quite successful, some ebbs and flows because it is a pilot. We're learning them, they're learning us. However, they are committed to making sure that the community is aware of how to do that. And they've done that by participating in parades, any of the community events to kind of set up tabling events and pop-up shops, just to identify and give the information to those who need that information and to make sure that they're on that inventory list listed as if they have an unknown, to make sure that we identify if it is a lead pipe or if they have galvanized pipes or whatever the material is in their home, so that if it needs to be removed, it can be removed. That is the quick overview. If you want additional details, I can indulge you further, but as I want to be conscious of your time, I just want to make sure that you have that information. And I just have one magnet. We're going to give these magnets and other giveaways this weekend to kind of get them acclimated to our scan here, where they can scan, go right to the Get Water Wise site, go ahead and see if their home has already been identified as a lead home or non or unknown or whatever their status is. And if it's not known, then they can, especially if it's an elder, we specialize in making sure of the elders and those who have difficulty maybe identifying what that looks like, that they can call 311 and they have an opportunity to reach out to our areas and make sure they get them taken care of. Do I have any questions? I know I came really fast with it.
Will they be mailing those magnets out?
Actually, this will be given out, but I mean, if you know some folks who want it, we can make sure. But we have them at the community partnership offices. They have all of these items at their office, even when they're engaging with people that walk into their facilities.
Thank you, Christine. Dustin Steiner, GHD, as you heard us a little earlier, we're finishing up the Colonel Ward Electrical Improvement Project with some motor relay installation and high service pump testing. We're also wrapping up the flood mitigation and berm project. I don't know if you folks, when you walked around, Peter gave you the tour. So since 2019, Halloween, David, we don't like to remember, we were experiencing lake seiches that were, causing us some havoc. And so with the previous board and Peter's support and selected GHD, we designed a flood mitigation and berm project, and we designed a wall, and that construction took place beginning of 24, last February to now, all around the Ambets Drive lake access, which now is protecting us from Mother Nature, if you will. And part of that project was also a brand new fence that the commissioner was part of selecting way back when. Thank you, because everybody's getting everyone's noticing our new fence. Even the parks next door, the big park project has commented on how well they like our fence. Other than that, I work with Veolia as part of the oversight contract for you board on Veolia's activities that they do here. And that's about it right now. If you got any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Anything else?
Well said. I might add a note on the retaining wall project, the flood mitigation project. It is a local and state award-winning project, which was recognized. So congratulations to the team on that. Yes, good as well. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you.
Anything else from GHD? No. I would just like to add that I have worked with Stephen and his team for almost 2 decades now, hard to believe. And so not only just the last month that Stephen has been very intimately involved with helping the new board members come up to speed and everything else, but over the last 2 decades, what GHD has brought to this team. I call it a team because we all operate like we are just one big team here. So I'm very grateful to all of you. So on behalf of the board, the new board, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, I'm sorry, Veolia. Mr. Hill?
Yes, sir. David Hill, Veolia. Board, I wanted to take you through some highlights for March. You'll notice a large board report, and I encourage you at your own leisure to read it every month. There's a ton of really good information in there. If you ever have any questions, just let us know. And want to break it out into sections like we normally do. And at first, like to look at our affordability programs. Currently, there's 2007 customers enrolled in the Buffalo Water Residential Affordable Water Program, the RAWP. The board created this program, probably 5 years ago. It's a kind of a 2-tiered program that gives credits to customers, low-income customers. So we're at 2007 through March. Currently, we have 4,196 seniors enrolled in the senior program. We have 428 customers on payment plans currently and Buffalo Water payment plans. And we also have another 68 customers on promise pay programs, which are very flexible programs that meet the customer's needs in terms of what they can afford to pay. Jumping to page 6 and 7, that's kind of a summary of our affordability. We'll get into some financials. Actually, on page 6, every month we produce a summary of service revenues and charges. So you can compare what's going on this month versus last year. Pretty standard language there. Again, a lot of numbers, not going to get into all of this. You can take your time with this. It's reported every month. But we profile the summary and revenue charges here. On the next page 7, we actually profile the actual service revenues being brought in versus budgeted revenue. On page 8, we actually get into the AR balances and some aging reports. So again, kind of that was the financial portion of the board report. We typically go into, our production and operations piece right now and discuss a little bit about the plant and what's going on, some major items. Page 9, as Dustin said, quite a bit of work going on at this plant, especially this time of year. Quite a bit of limited account activities and projects that we're overseeing on a day-to-day basis. One of the items I wanted to bring the board's attention this month, and I think Doug and Mike can expand on it a bit more, but we noticed there was a leak on our 48-inch transmission main across or the top of the CSX railway leading to South Buffalo. So we have 2 major feeds serving South Buffalo as a reliability perspective. So the 48 is out. We are feeding from the other main. Being that it's near the railroad and near state highways or federal highways, it's been a little bit more difficult to make the arrangements to get to the repair that we normally would. Doug, can you give us a brief on where we're at?
So this is a good example of bringing a lot of parties together through Peter's retained consulting engineer contracts through working with Wendell as the structural engineer as part of the pipe bridge. That houses that 48-inch over the tracks. So we're working with Wendell. We're working with our limited account contractors. A lot of parties involved to make this happen. So that's a good example of that. Another one I'd like to highlight is the HSP number 2, high service pump number 2 here at Colonel Ward, where we do a lot of rigorous preventative maintenance testing. I think it's almost quarterly or maybe biannual. Part of our PM testing noticed that one of the high service pump motors does require some maintenance. So based on that predictive maintenance, we're going to be taking that out of service from a reliability standpoint. So this is a really good list, 9 and 10, pages 9 and 10. You know, we think it's important that board, you know how your money's being spent. So we want to make sure you have a good idea of all of the items that are going into it.
Thank you, Doug. From a customer service perspective, we're currently upgrading the VoIP phone system. And that's a system that obviously it tracks all the customer interaction into the data center and provides information and metrics on how well the agents are answering calls and those sorts of things. So just making certain it's up to standard, or not up to standards, but actually the latest and greatest system we can have as far as tracking those metrics. Want to mention safety. It's a very serious core value of this project. We want to make certain that everybody goes home safe at the end of the day. In the past month, we've coordinated with some chlorine suppliers and actually had them on site giving emergency training on chlorine gun cylinders in the event there's leaks on how to repair those. Buffalo Fire Department was here. Buffalo Hazmat was here. Erie County
Homeland Security
was here. Homeland Security was here. We had all parties here, and that's important because when and if there's an emergency, we all must communicate through all those channels. So having all parties here and going through an exercise like that was very beneficial. This time of year, we get into our basins, 30, 40 foot underground. The basins are where the dirt's removed from the water.
Where the flock settles.
That's where the flock settles. It's a manual process, unfortunately. And we got to go down there and remove the mud. But with that, science-based training, fall protection training, ladder protection, preparing the workforce to enter properly and working there safely. Just some more key sections, not going to get into them. There's a water quality section where you want to know what's going on with our water quality, it's all here. Historical perspectives on pumping information on what we've been producing over the years. Some water quality call information, where we paved at. Obviously, we do a lot of work out in the streets and we need to keep track of that distribution wise, and we need to come back and make certain we repair and patch and make the streets like they were before we came across them. Work orders for the plant and facility. So performance standards section. And then lastly, there's a drone. We do a monthly drone inspection report of all the major assets, and we get a visual look at them from all sides and up on top, and really beneficial in terms of predictive maintenance. That's it from a Veolia perspective. Thank you.
All right, thank you, David. All right, board, we're gonna move into the item 13 executive session, but before we get there, Peter, next meeting. Date?
Oh,
Are we still trying to stay in the second Wednesday?
I
of every month?
believe so.
Have it in my calendar, but
Second. I think it's second Wednesday. Normally on the second Wednesday, but again, they have been postponed for the last four, so they approved it for.
It was May 14th.
Probably.
That was the tentative schedule.
Okay. That would make sense. That's the second Wednesday.
I can screenshot of the.
And you guys did it at City Hall, or is it going to be here?
The intent is at City Hall.
yes.
Thank
In the
you.
next meeting, the intention will be the room 210, City Hall, which is the mayor's conference room. It will be operated the same way in a hybrid format. People can attend remotely or in person. And like I said, we always encourage the public to join in either method.
Thank you.
Did you confirm May 14th?
Are we
Yes.
confirmed? Okay, so the next meeting is May 14th.
Yes, thank you.
Hopefully, everybody can be there. If you can't, please let Peter know.
and we will be sending out the packet of information ahead of time so you can be briefed before that meeting. All right, we're going to be going into executive session. So, you know, the board will remain here and everybody else can leave. Thank you for attending.
Bill, may I just suggest you do a motion?
That's what I was just going to do. So to go into executive session, we need a motion and second to go into executive session. Once we come out of executive session, we will have a motion to come out, and then we will come out of the meeting in general. So, Connor, you can obviously sign off. We will make those motions here, and Peter will record those. All right, so can we get a motion to go into executive session?
For litigation purposes.
Billman move to go into executive session.
We have a first and second to go into executive session. All in favor?
Billman, aye.
Anybody aye?
WI.
Sunderland, aye. All right, thank you, everybody.